Turbo and 2K show. What is up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again. 2Ks, it's good to see you, brother. Good as always. How was your week, my friend?
It was really good, really good weekend. Wife and I went to a wedding last night. It was a lot of fun. Today, just kind of chilled out, relaxed.
It seemed to be that kind of day.
It was.
It was kind of almost like a fall day.
Yeah, it's nice that things cooled down. We were able to get some things done around the house that we needed to do, and some things done outside also. So it was just a good day, good Sunday, kind of a prep day to get ready to tackle the next week.
Yep, and fortunately for the wife and I 2Ks, we have this week off.
There you go.
We have 3 kids' birthdays during the week. We've got a wedding on Saturday and our daughter's housewarming party Sunday. So busy week, even though we do have the week off. But yeah, it's a lot easier to get all these things done when you do have some time off. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. 2K crew, I see you guys and gals in the chat. If you are on, if you're watching us over on Facebook, I would highly suggest going over to the YouTube feed because it's a lot better experience over there. But regardless of where you're taking a look at us, go ahead and like, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit the bell so you get notified every time we go live. And for all the audio folks, you guys are the true lifeblood of the 2K crew. Give us a follow over there. Give us a 5-star review so we climb up those rankings. Well, 2K crew, we're going to start the show off with a massive announcement. And no, we are not joining Barstool Sports quite yet. But no, and this is coming. We probably should give credit where it's due, right? 2Ks. I mean, this was Mrs. 2K's idea.
It was.
And I never even thought about doing this. And we talked and we're like, hell yeah, let's do it. And for those of you fantasy football players, or if you're interested to see exactly how an online fantasy football draft goes, we will be doing the Turbo and 2K show. What is this, our 4th annual? Mm-hmm. Man, that seems like it's flying by. Our 4th annual Fantasy Football Draft live August 27th as a part of the show. So really excited about that. I'm not really sure how the production's going to go, but we will try to do our best. We did have a suggestion, 2Ks, that we try to bring in a Zoom room, which I think would be really cool.
It would be.
And but we'll see. That's one of the things I plan on doing amidst the birthdays and stuff this week is kind of playing around with the setup here, kind of see what we can do to bring some content your way and just have an overall cool experience. So you're not just sitting here just looking at us and waiting for us to make our next pick. Of course, 2K crew, we will be talking shit and telling every player that they suck, and you will get the whole live draft experience 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
100%. And yeah, so that's going to be super fun. And who knows, 2Ks, we might actually at least bring on someone else in the draft, don't you think, to sit in here with us?
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be cool. So yeah, the sky's the limit there. Sky is the limit there. But in other news, 2Ks, we've got baseball. We even have Little League baseball. But one thing that's super cool is that we are 20 days until Notre Dame football. And not just Notre Dame football, 2Ks, all college football, 20 days. We are less than 1 month away, less than 3 weeks away. So how cool is that? And ladies and gentlemen, we will be doing our college football kind of preview show next week. So keep an eye out for that. And just another thing here, business 2Ks. I posted our parlay on the 2K crew group. Man, it's rough going.
It was
rough going.
It's a rough day. Hopefully you did not listen to us today.
No, because I think what was it? Kerry Carpenter was the only one that cashed on this. So yeah, hopefully you did not ride with us. But normally we do enjoy it when you do, because we have had some overall. I mean, we're firmly ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're firmly ahead, so I'm not too worried about that. But 2Ks, let's kind of start off with. Let's do this first. We had an incident at the White Sox Cleveland game, which resulted in a fisticuffs between Tim Anderson and Mr. Ramirez of the Indians. And Paul Papps over at the, I believe he's still at the Dan Patrick Show. It says, "Well played, Sports Center." And it's a fight night, tale of the tape. Tim Anderson versus Jose Ramirez, 6'1" to 5'9", 185 to 190. 2 jabs landed as compared to none. 0 power punches landed compared to 1. So 2Ks, this was obviously something that it's not unprecedented by any means, but it's something that doesn't happen on the diamond nearly as much as, we see benches clear, we see a whole, the bullpens come, but it usually never really amounts to this.
Yeah.
But as a fight, 2Ks, give me a score, 1 to 10. How good was this one, and how did it match up? Because I'm pretty sure the top 2 that everyone kind of thinks about is obviously Robin Ventura and Nolan Ryan. Mm-hmm. And then probably the most recent as compared to this is the Odor Batista fight. So where would you rank it in the echelon here?
I would probably have it in between those 2 that we just mentioned there. The Nolan Ryan Ventura one, I still have as number 1 just because that was like the very end of Nolan Ryan's career.
And the very beginning of Ventura's.
Yeah. So you have a guy that's, in his mid-40s just wailing on a guy that's in his low 20s. That one will always go down as my favorite. The Batista one, that was a really good one too. I shouldn't say Batista. I should say Odor because it was his, and it was his shot. But the one thing about that one was Batista fucking wore it. Like he got wailed, but he wore it, and that guy's got a chin like a UFC fighter. So,
his sunglasses, just those Oakleys flying through the air. Iconic.
The one last night was kind of they were pretty girly punches. Ramirez ends up hitting him with like an open fist, and I think it just kind of caught him in the right place. That it just, kind of took the legs right out of Tim Anderson, who I can't imagine Tim Anderson's much of a fighter either. He's more of just a lippy individual. I think he finally just kind of got what he had coming. I think there's probably a lot of guys in the league that have thought once or twice about punching Tim Anderson in the face.
Yeah, and
but this is what you get. This is what you get when you have 2 underachieving ball teams.
Yeah.
That are frustrated. They're not playing well. Either one of these teams are going to be playing in the postseason. They play in the worst division in baseball.
They're both sellers.
And they're both sellers. They're in the worst division in baseball, and they're still under 500. The White Sox this whole thing has just been a huge failure for them. I mean, this group was supposed to be very good for a long time, and you have Luis Robert and the Funky Bunch behind him. So I can't say a bad thing about Luis, but I can say a bad thing about everybody else, and that's a part of that organization. They've been a huge failure, and this is what you get out of it. But yeah, it was kind of funny to see last night. Obviously this week suspensions will be handed out.
Oh yeah.
They're going to be without both of those guys for probably for a few games. I'm probably thinking somewhere around 4 or 5 games. Suspension is probably what gets it.
But honestly, like you said, it's not going to matter.
No, it's not going to matter. Either one of these teams are going to make it, and this is all will be forgotten. And it's the last. It was the last. Today was the last game of the series for the rest of the season, anyways. So, yeah, I don't take much out of it. You normally see 1 or 2 of these a season. They don't normally lead to punches being thrown like
but
this
it's better
most
when
of the
they
time.
do.
But yeah, exactly. It's a part of baseball. It is what it is. I think it's. Sometimes I think it can be good for a team when shit like this happens. So we'll see. I don't take much out of it. It was just a heat of the moment. That's what you take. That's what you get. You have guys these guys are competing, and whether you like it or not, they're competing. They're playing a sport, and every one of them is competitive, and they want to win. And sometimes you get a little bit heated, and you just kind of get caught in the moment. And I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and your mother-in-law, Mrs. Brenda Gearhart, said it's a horrible example for young players. That's true. We're not advocating fighting by any means.
No.
But it's just, you nailed it. These 2 teams suck, and there's times when your anger gets the best of you, and it's time to square off. in Tim Anderson's case, time to square off southpaw, even though you're right-handed, which maybe he's trying to, I don't know, protect the right hand from the,
Yeah, I don't.
you know, I mean,
It was a very awkward.
Yeah,
it was a
and-
very awkward. It's almost as awkward as watching Nate Diaz try to box. I was watching highlights today, not to kind of go off the subject, and Nate Diaz is trying to put Jake Paul into a fucking chokehold when they're. It's like,
but
what?
that's hard to do with boxing gloves on.
So stupid. But they did say last night that the two of them are gonna turn and they're gonna fight again in the octagon.
Really, that might be a whole lot more
That I would tune into. I can't watch that fucking grab ass boxing shit. Like,
No.
I don't care. I'm sorry if I'm offending any true boxing fans out there, but that shit's a joke.
I honestly think true boxing fans have had enough of it.
Yeah, it's a joke. And the thing is, when the biggest boxer in the sport is fucking Jake Paul, who is not even a boxer. He's been doing it for about 3 years, and he's just making a mockery out of it. But he's the most popular boxer that there is. So that tells you right there. Sorry for your true boxing fans out there, but that shit's a joke.
And just to kind of put a bow on the whole Anderson Ramirez fight, Tim Anderson, you don't start fights when you've only had one home run this year.
Yeah, what has happened to Tim Anderson?
I think it's a cataclysm of what's happened to that whole team.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was a while back. I just happened to be watching him on TV, and it was like Tim Anderson has no home runs on the season, and I was like, what? Yeah. Not that he's a bopper, but that guy should be hitting.
He's usually 20, 25.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? I don't understand what's happened to him. And for him not to be hitting for power, and him not even to be hitting, he's not even hitting close to 300. Like, he's well below it. Well, and you know what he is defensively. He's not very good. He's just a so-so shortstop defensively. So if he's not doing it offensively and not being on base and making things happen and being the true catalyst that we've seen for the last 2 or 3 years, he's no good to them. So
no. And with those stats that you just kind of alluded to, I mean, obviously no one at the deadline wanted him, so it is what it is.
Nobody wants a fucking shortstop that can't hit a home run and then brings. He brings some shit, some baggage to the table. I think that if you're on a winning team and things are going well, I think you kind of feed off of that and you like it. But I would be afraid of him coming into any organization and just rocking the boat. And I think that's what teams are. We're not going to take a chance on somebody that has hit one fucking home run all season long and with below average defensive shortstop. We're not taking a chance on that. So
no, and like I said, it's one of those where your season's going so bad, it's time to just punch someone in the fucking face. I mean, and
instead he got punched in the fucking face.
Yeah, and he went. I mean, he got knocked out.
Yeah,
he got knocked out.
He went back. He went. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Something
did not.
happened there.
Batista wore it a whole lot better than he did.
Yes.
Robin Ventura wore it a whole lot better than he did. And Jay Stone says, "What about?" It says under Martinez and Zimmer. I think it's supposed to be Pedro Martinez and Zimmer. I enjoyed that fight. And Pedro got a lot of heat for that. Well, you know what, old man? Keep your ass in the dugout.
Yeah.
Keep your ass in the dugout. But 2Ks, let's since we kind of got that taken care of, I pulled a tweet with some storylines here, and this is from Talking Baseball over on X. Now it's not Twitter, it's X.
Yeah, what is that? I don't understand it. What happened?
I don't know, and I'm every time an alert comes to my phone, I think it's Xfinity, and I'm like, I don't even have Xfinity, and I'm not even sure we're supposed to be calling these tweets. Maybe we're supposed to be calling them X's. I don't know. But Mr. Talking Baseball over there says Cubs fans are happy, Angels fans are not. This is as of today, 2Ks. Angels are 56-56, haven't won a game since the deadline, and are 6 games back of the wild card. In other news, Dallas Keuchel makes his season debut with the Twins. That's something to. Guardians and the White Sox play for the last time this season, which, like you pointed out. And kind of the main focus here for this little segment, 2Ks, is the Cubs have won 4 of the last 5 and are 1 game back of the wild card and a game and a half back of the division lead. So 2Ks, my question to you is, there was a lot of folks that were kind of questioning the Cubs being buyers as opposed to being sellers. And I think you and I agreed that this division is terrible. And I think at the end of the deadline, I think they were 4 or 4.5 back of the Brewers in the division, and I think they were less than that for the wild card. So yes, I mean they were wholeheartedly in this thing. My question is, is this Cubs team for real? Now, I'll just leave it at that. Are they for real? Do you think they can win this division? And because someone's got to win this trash division and get home field advantage for the playoffs. So do you think this Cubs team is legit and could win not only the wild card, but the Central?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I said at in our last show that we talked about before the deadline, I was saying, the Cubs probably need to just pack it up and move a guy like Bellinger, who Bellinger's having a hell of a season. I mean,
Especially lately.
Probably talking about a top 3 for the National League MVP season. I mean, that's what he's had. And at that time, we're watching the Reds, and the Reds, with Ellie De La Cruz and all these young kids are just taking off. Mm-hmm. But we said it over and over again, the Reds have got to get pitching. They got to get help pitching.
They didn't.
And they went and they didn't do anything. Mm-mm. They didn't do anything. So I don't understand, especially with them. So them not doing anything, that pitching staff is awful. And the Cubs put that shit on notice just this past week when they come out and score 16 runs against them and then 20 runs against them. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it might have been 20 runs the first game and then 16 the next game. But it was just like, yeah, this shows how this is a huge flaw that this Reds team has, that they're not even fucking close to being able to play postseason baseball because they don't have the pitching to line up with any of these good teams. And this Cubs offense is freaking hot. Yeah. I still question their pitching. I question their bullpen. I don't know if they'll hold up. But the division's terrible. The Brewers didn't do anything. It's not like the Brewers were buyers and they went out and got a lot better too. They didn't do shit either. So
the Brewers got Woodruff back though.
Yeah, getting somebody
huge.
healthy. Yes.
That's huge.
Yeah, but as good as Bellinger's been, Dansby Swanson's been great here since the All-Star break. The fucking leadoff batter, that Tauchman he's been a stud. He has been a stud. So yeah, this Cubs offense is scary. I don't know about the pitching, but the offense is scary, and the way that and then for them to go in and play 3 games against the Braves this weekend and beat them 2 out of 3. Mm-hmm. That's the best offense in baseball, and the Cubs outclassed them offensively. So, do I think that they're a better team than the Braves? Absolutely not. Do I think they can beat the Braves in the playoffs? Absolutely not. But the question was, can the Cubs win this Central? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Leah Ramini over on X, I'm still calling it Twitter. That sounds stupid. She says, wow, Cubs take 2 of 3 versus the Braves in a win that showed a lot. And then she describes how she's going to talk about that and the White Sox and some Bears coverage too. Happy flight, Cubs. And yeah, to be honest with you, 2Ks, I agree with everything that you just said. Yes, are they... After the game today, they're 58 and 54, so they're 4 games above 500, game and a half, but they're tied with the Rays for a game and a half back of the Brewers. One little key stat here, 2Ks, is that the Brewers have a -8 run differential. The Reds have a -29 differential. The Cardinals have a better run differential than the Reds. By 1. I mean, it's not a glaring thing here, but the Cubs have a +75. +75, and they're 7-3 in their last 10, whereas the Brewers and the Reds are both 3-7. Now, yes, the pitching staff is the concern, but I think the pitching staff for most of the teams that are going to make the playoffs are going to be their biggest concern. I don't think you can name one aside from the Twins who are going to win the American League Central, because their offense is terrible. Mm-hmm. But I really, there's not a quote-unquote deficient offense out of anyone that's going to make the playoffs. You look at that Dodger offense, awesome. They're plus 107 run differential. If the Giants pick up a wild card spot, they're plus 24. That's a deep lineup. Not a whole lot of household names there, but very, very deep. Phillies. Of course the Braves. I mean, the Braves have probably, as far as run differential is concerned, they have the second best run differential behind the Rangers. But if you look at it, 2Ks, I mean, if we're just looking at National League teams, I think you and I will both agree the Braves are the cream of the crop. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is their pennant to lose. It's just, can anyone else keep up with them? Can anyone else catch them? I honestly don't think they can. But as far as who's playing them in the championship series, that's kind of up in the air, because you would think the Dodgers are kind of separating themselves from the rest of the pack aside from the Braves. But are they really? I mean, their pitching isn't much better than the Brewers or the Cubs even. Yes, they're probably going to get Clayton Kershaw back. Yes, Walker Buehler's supposed to come back, but we've kind of put this in. This is me going off here on a little tangent, because yes, we've seen Kershaw in the playoffs be successful. However, that was only a 60-game schedule in 2020. Pretty much was healthy the whole year in that shortened season. We haven't seen a healthy Kershaw for a whole season, or at least once it gets to the postseason, be effective going through 162 games. So in my opinion, you can't even say that's a plus. Same with the Giants, same with the Brewers, the Cubs, the Phillies. I mean, probably Phillies starting pitching after the Braves is probably the second best that we've talked about. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's all who are the Braves going to play, and I don't think there's on paper 2Ks you could say the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. But the Dodgers have 3 more wins than the Brewers. So they're not the world beaters that the Dodgers are. And the Braves have 7 more wins than the Dodgers. So, but when you look at the American League, I mean, you have, to me, that's where everyone but the Braves. The American League going down the into the playoffs, to the playoffs and in, I think is going to be a much better watch. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I do think this Cubs team's for real. If they keep this momentum, I do think they overtake the Brewers. And aside from injury, I would honestly favor them right now. Mm-hmm. I would honestly favor them right now. Well, let's. I know Jay Stone and all the Cubs fans have probably came since we've talked about the Cubs and how good they are. But let's talk about some teams that are done, 2Ks. And our fandom is both involved in this.
Sure.
I think both our teams were kind of on different ends of the trade deadline.
Yeah, my team was done before the season kicked off. So it's.
And let's start off with the Red Sox. They're 57 and 54. If they were in their half game back of the Yankees that jumped them for last place in the East, and they had it right, everything right where it needed to be. 3.5 back of the Blue Jays for the wild card spot, and shit the bed, and they got swept. The Red Sox they made one move to get a second baseman. And yes, I mean, the cavalry is coming back. Chris Sale pitched another awesome game in Pawtucket. Whitlock is, I think, on his way back as well. Trevor Story's not too far from being back. So a lot of the holes that are kind of looming, like the shortstop position. And there's a lot of people that are like, oh my gosh, can Trevor Story even play shortstop anymore? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that yeah, and I mean, granted, he's shown it down in AAA and everything else, but you and I both know AAA is not the big leagues. But I think it's safe to say that Red Sox, Yankees, both done. We've talked about everyone in the Central besides the Twins are done. What about this Mariners team, 2Ks? What about this Mariners team? They're 8-2 in their last 10. And let's look at the wild card, see where they're at there. They're 2.5 back of the Blue Jays. Mm-hmm. And the Mariners were sellers. Mm-hmm. Mariners were sellers.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about them. They've been such a just a ball of inconsistency all season long. It's
Agreed.
like they have some really good young pitching, but the offense has just been. I mean, let's face it, it's time to put a little bit of heat on Julio. I mean,
Yep.
this guy came off and people were talking about him being the next Mike Trout last season, and this year, he's fallen a little bit into that sophomore slump. I'm not saying that he's been terrible, but he hasn't been very good.
No.
He was an all-star because that game was played in Seattle, and because he was the hometown kid there, and they wanted to make a story out of it. It wasn't like he played his way into being an all-star and really being very deserving in that game. So you got to put a little bit of pressure on him on there, and the guys like Kalenic, who's been so high on Kalenic for so long, and he hasn't lived up to it yet. And there's a lot of very young talent here, but there's a lot of guys offensively that just haven't lived up to it. Now some of these young pitchers, they have lived up to it. They can pitch the ball very, very well. But to me, it's these big name offensive prospects that we've heard about for a lot of years now and been waiting for them to kind of take over, and they haven't lived up to those expectations yet.
But it'd be the perfect time for them to start.
Oh, absolutely.
You're
but the problem
2.5 back.
The problem is, to me, the team that arguably won the trade deadline is in that same division.
Yeah.
And I as much as I want Texas to win that, I think Houston's going to win that division. They've gotten hot at the right time. They have better pitching. They got Yordan Alvarez back, and then so that was Yordan Alvarez. You can make a case that might be the best trade deadline accusation, is being able to put him back into the roster now. So and then to obviously bring an arm like Justin Verlander, who's won two World Series with that team, and put him right back into the mix. Houston's scary. Houston is a very scary team here down the stretch. That offense is loaded, and they're starting to take off. Altuve's hot, one of the hottest players in the league right now, and we know what that pitching staff is capable of. So, what do I think about Seattle? Yeah, they played really, really good here, but I still think they miss out.
I think the only thing that's going to be a saving grace to a team like the Mariners is that for the vast majority of the division games, they're done after this weekend. And then you're playing teams out of your division. And so it's not as important to kind of keep pace, you know what I mean? But the bad side is that you're done playing the Astros. Mm-hmm. So those head-to-heads are gone because those are the best time to make up ground. And I still give the Mariners a shot because they only have to jump one team. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Yankees and Red Sox are 4.5 and 5 back, they'd have to jump 3 teams. The Angels would have to jump 4. And unfortunately, I think both you and I can agree that this Angels team is done.
And I guess it does. And you can say one thing about Toronto too, being that team that's ahead of them right now, is how bad is this injury with Bichette?
Exactly.
How long is Bichette going to be out for? Because taking him out of that lineup is it's a big deal. He's
leadoff hitter, was leading the league at one point, if not still, in batting average. So, yeah, he's the table setter. He's the spark plug. So
now,
for sure.
The one thing I will say is the freaking kid that they called up here. Who they called him up when he got hurt, the Schneider kid or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think it was Schneider that is the name. Well, he killed it in the series against with the Red Sox. Yeah,
that whole team killed it, dude.
Looking at his first 13 career at bats, he's got 9 hits.
Yeah.
So maybe it's okay. Maybe he's the kid that they're calling up to take over Bichette while he's gone. Been quite a story this first weekend.
Yeah, and but then again, the Blue Jays haven't been to use the word inconsistent with them, I think which has been their MO for the past handful of years. So the Mariners are 8-2 right now as compared to Toronto 6-4, and that's after a sweep of the Red Sox. So they were 3-4 going into that series. So is it doable? Sure. So I'm not going to put the tag of done on the Mariners quite yet. Maybe next week at this time, and they go back into their normal Blue Jay or their normal Mariners thing, lose the next 3 or 4, then maybe I could say yes that they're done. But as of right now, the answer is no, in my opinion. In my opinion. Well, 2Ks, let's talk Reds here for a minute. This is, again, from Talking Baseball. The Reds have lost 6 straight to the Cubs and Nationals since the trade deadline. Their starting pitching, which we said was absolutely horrible. Well, 2Ks, here's a number that is very, very horrible. Their starting pitchers have an 11.25 ERA in those games. Last time I checked, great pitching is usually like, 3 or under, maybe 3.25 and under, not 11. Not 11. So let's take a look at the wild card here.
Were they just not in the, last time I looked at the map, Cincinnati is not that far away from Detroit. Were they just not, in the, Detroit not have their number? They didn't link up, talks about Eduardo.
It wouldn't have been a far commute.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that would have a very, very good farm system. Obviously,
he would have fit in very well there.
Detroit has a lot of pitchers in there, that they can be, that they could play with, and they need a lot of bats. And the Reds have a lot of bats, and it just seems like that would have been the team or a perfect team for to link up and make something happen. And
Eduardo Rodriguez for India, straight up.
Oh, it would have taken a little bit more than that. It would have taken a little bit more than that.
But
fuck, I mean, anything now.
Yeah.
I mean, because now there's good chances Eduardo walks and you end up with nothing out of him, and it's going to be like the same fucking story with, it was Matthew Boyd a few years back. Mm-hmm. It was Michael Fulmer after that, and now it's Eduardo, and it's like this shit only happens to the same fucking organization. It's not happening to everybody else.
Well, the Reds are tied with the Cubs for that third wild card spot. In 2Ks, if I was a good host here, I would have their schedule up and see where their schedule falls. But add on top of that, this National League wild card I think is going to be a lot more exciting to keep track of than anything else. Because the Giants have the top spot and they're 3 ahead of the Phillies, who are 3 ahead of the Cubs and the Reds. The Marlins are only half game back. The Marlins were buyers. Diamondbacks sit a game and a half. And the Padres still at 2.5 back, as bad of a team as they are. I mean, granted, they've been hot lately. They won yesterday. They won 7 of their last 10. But in comparison to that, I mean, this is probably why we've seen this team move up in this wild card, even though they're 1 game under 500, is that they're 7-3 in their last 10. Mm-hmm. Diamondbacks are 2-8. Marlins 3-7. Reds 3-7. So I'm pretty sure that's why we've seen this team kind of skyrocket. And then teams like the Mets, Padres, Nats, Cardinals, Rockies, they're all done. They're all done. But to see this many teams kind of in the mix for this last wild card spot is rather tantalizing here, 2K. So are you buying? Well, we kind of have to buy one. And we said that the Cubs are probably going to win the division. So you would swap the Cubs with the Brewers in here. So taking the Cubs out, Brewers, Reds, Marlins, D-backs, Padres. Who's getting that last wild card spot? Well, it would be, yeah.
Yeah, because right now you have San Francisco's in, Philly's in.
Yep. So there's
one more wild card spot after that, and I'm saying that the Cubs win, so they're not in on it.
So it'd be the Brewers.
Man, you got to believe this Padres team gets it going here, don't you? I mean,
but we've been saying that the whole year,
right?
2Ks.
Right.
We've been saying that on paper this should be the easiest thing.
But
here.
it is the Padres have just kind of been steady Eddie all season long, just playing 500 baseball, and it's like when you look at this Arizona Miami teams, they're trending down.
Yeah.
Everything was great, and now since the All-Star break, they've kind of been trending the wrong direction since then. And I don't know. I think kind of the Urias batting over 400 has kind of wavered. The Corbin Carroll story has kind of come back to reality a little bit. And and so maybe they're trending down, and it's just a matter of time, right?
They've lost their last 6, by the way.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before Soto gets it going, which he already has since the break. Machado's kind of gotten it going. Tatis is the one that's kind of trending the wrong direction, when at a time he was the only one that was doing anything. Xander Bogaerts is kind of starting to get it going. He's still kind of been.
Blake Snell is probably.
Blake Snell has been awesome all season long.
Potential Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
Blake Snell.
I think the Padres get in. I really do. I think the Padres are going to get hot here. And they're too good. They got too many proven winners that I just think down the stretch here, they outplay these younger teams that just aren't necessarily ready. The Cincinnatis, the Miamis, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Just teams that are going to be very good here for a long time, I think. And they have a lot of very, very good young talent, but just don't know how to win. In the big situations. And this Padres team they're too good, and I think
their pitching staff's better than any team. Well, if we're throwing the Brewers in there, and you give me a healthy Woodruff, that I think I would still give the nod to the Padres just because of the back end of that. Because Heater's still there. He's still there, and he's the biggest X factor, I think, on that whole team. But I'm going to say it one more time. I do think the Padres somehow flip that switch and somehow sneak into that last wild card spot.
But I mean, they're sitting 2.5 back right now, and it's like, when is it going to happen?
Yeah.
It's got to happen, and it's got to be. And I mean, running out of time. I mean, we keep on rolling into and saying this shit more Sundays.
Yep.
We're running out of Sundays to mention this, so it has to happen. But I just keep on thinking to myself, like, it's going to happen.
When?
They're too good. They're too good for it not to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a huge.
And they're losing 6-1, going into the bottom of the 5th right now.
Yeah. So this Sunday they're not getting it going yet. So next Sunday, that hopefully, but.
But when you throw, I mean, come on. We just talked about the Padres pitching, and they add Rich Hill.
Yeah.
Dick Mountain is not getting you anywhere.
Yeah. That's one thing. Like some of these teams that we thought would now obviously this Dodgers team had a trade fall through where they obviously would have landed a very, very good starting pitcher if that didn't happen. But it was just kind of a surprise to me, that these big markets, the San Diegos, the Dodgers, are not the teams that landed the big names. I would have thought like
it was Texas.
Texas
it was
is Lance Scherzer. Astros bring Verlander back. Baltimore, arguably the next biggest name was Flaherty going to Baltimore, and which we haven't touched on that one yet either. And I think Baltimore is. They're one of the teams that won the deadline.
Yes.
With adding that, so it's shocking to me. But yeah, when you see this San Diego Padres team that has a Soto and Machado and Tatis, all that on the Bogaerts, and you bring in Rich Hill at the deadline, as your starting pitcher, a little bit shocking. But
they were actually talking. I don't know if it was on Twitter or on the ESPN broadcast if Rich Hill actually faced Fernando Tatis and Tatis Jr. Because on Baseball is Dead, they actually found out that Rich Hill's 42 years old, maybe even 43. It's like, geez, oh Pete's, man, what is this generation's Jamie Moyer? I mean, it seems, which Moyer didn't throw hard either, so. But yeah, it's definitely shaping up to, you kind of mentioned it too, Case, so let's transition over to that. Over the winners so far of the trade deadline. The big glaring one, I think in most people's mind, is Texas. Probably second would be the Orioles. But even with the Dodgers missing out, or I can't really say missing out on the Erod trade, that fell through. Lance Lynn's pitched very well for him so far. I mean, granted, it's only been 2 starts. It seems like 5. But he had a no-no going into I think it was the 4th inning against this Padres team. And Gary Sanchez, of all people, broke it up with a solo home run. But and maybe it was Lance Lynn just in a horrible situation in Chicago that kind of was I'm not going to say the catalyst to being awful, but different. I mean, this could go down as probably as maybe the quietest, sneakiest, best pickup of the trade deadline. That's my guy right there.
Mm-hmm.
I bought his first Bowman today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, out of $250 was $9 shipped. I was like, yep, I'll take that. But granted, Texas in their haul, and I honestly would have thought by now with the Angels in their haul would be at least not losing 6 in a row. I mean, I actually thought them picking up C.J. Cron was going to be a big addition for them. Add a little bit more thump to that lineup, even when Trout gets back, to kind of add to Ohtani and that. But that, I mean, granted, small sample size, but when you're a team like the Angels, you make these deals and you want some kind of instant gratification, some instant feedback, which hasn't been there.
Yeah.
And we saw JV twirl a gem the other day for the Astros. So out of all the teams, are you still riding with the Rangers as the big winner of this, or are you looking somewhere else?
It's hard to argue the Rangers. It's hard to argue the Stros, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing Verlander back, who's been there. Obviously, it's not going to take any time to learn the organization.
He looked
meet
like
the
a
players.
different guy there.
Yeah.
It's like his confidence was back, his swagger was back.
Yep. And like I said, it's not like for a lot of these guys when they're being traded, it's a learning curve. It's learning a whole new organization, learning how things are done,
Learning where stuff is.
Yeah. And with him, he's going to walk right back into. He knows everybody that's there. He knows how things go down. They've won World Series together.
Do you think he has the same locker?
Yeah, when a guy like Verlander leaves, I think you just leave that like, we're gonna leave the lights on, buddy. You're always welcome. Yeah, like you have that
Motel
treatment.
6.
Yeah. It's like it's like Tom Brady leaving. We'll leave the lights on, bud, like just in case you don't.
Especially with him.
Yeah. So
I'm coming back.
With Verlander. Yeah, that would not shock me. I think I probably give the nod a little bit to with as far as with those two trades. I would rather take Verlander than Scherzer at this point in their careers.
I would too, especially what they've done this season so far.
Yeah,
Verlander, like his last 7 before the trade deadline with like a 2.5, kind of the Verlander we saw last year, and maybe the injury to start off the season really set him back and just wasn't right until then.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Scherzer's he seems like a shell of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them have already exercised their next year option, which I don't blame them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell me you're going to make $43.9 million or whatever the hell it is, just to say, yep. Oh, fuck yeah, I'm in.
Absolutely.
I'm in. And rightfully so, money-wise and team-wise now, where I highly doubt next year we're going to be talking about the Rangers and Astros like we did with the Mets.
Mm-mm.
They're just too good of good of organizations.
Yeah.
Even though the Rangers, this is kind of unprecedented territory for them right now. But they've done all the right things. Their farm system's amazing, and fingers crossed. We might see DeGrom next year towards the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So that's a whole. And if they sign Montgomery, I mean that could be a nasty pitching staff right there. Even if because Scherzer's not being asked to be the number one. Could you imagine Scherzer's your number 3 or number 4 starter? Yes, he's getting paid number 1 money for sure, but I mean that could be nasty. So
with Montgomery coming over too, I would say Texas is they are the winners. I mean that's all. I mean that's really they're the best offense. And I mean you could probably make an argument there that Baltimore's offense is just as good, if not better. But Texas offensively great. The only thing you could say about them was that they needed help in the pitching staff for this playoff run, and they went and did it. Mm-hmm. Now Baltimore did it too. I mean, Baltimore landing a Jack Flaherty is huge.
I think again Flaherty in a different spot, I think is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And we're going to slowly get back to seeing him like he was a couple years
Yeah.
ago.
The thing with Baltimore, though, is this offense is so damn good, and they're so young, and they have this AAA team that has the same thing. Like they got guys in the AAA that are just mashing the ball, and they have no place to put them on this, And so that's where I thought maybe Baltimore would be a little bit more active come deadline time. Maybe being on the sweepstakes for Verlander, which would have been huge to land that.
Yeah.
Or would have been, gotten involved with the Tigers to bring over Eduardo, would have been huge to bring that in. Even get involved for Michael Lorenzen. Michael Lorenzen was great in his first start with the Phillies, so there was big time names out there, and I thought maybe Baltimore would get in on that because for the whole season, that talk has been, how good Tampa's, the beginning of Tampa's season and how they got off to that start, and is anybody going to catch them? And then the Braves caught them, a month ago, and everybody was like, oh well, they're still the best team in the American League. Well, now all of a sudden you look at the standings, and Baltimore's the best team in the American League. That Baltimore team can flat out mash. They are scary, scary, scary good. I went on. They're the team I'm rooting for now because obviously that's where I got my money at. Dude, I fucking go on. This is, I'm on FanDuel, and I haven't looked at this for a while.
The unofficial sports book of the Turbo and 2K show.
Yeah. So, and I'm on there, and I think it was last week. I want to say it was last week. I'm like, I wonder what the odds are for World Series teams, and I'm scrolling down through, and I'm like, where the fuck is Baltimore at? Plus 1,700.
Are you shitting me?
Plus 1,700 to win the World Series. I think odds-wise at the time, like the sixth best team, favorite.
Really?
Yeah, odds-wise to win the World Series. I'm like, I'll put $20 on that. Like,
yeah.
What? Why the fuck not? that offense is so fucking good. Then it was right before the deadline, I believe. So now they add a flaherty to that. Like, If there's a team offensively right now that has the firepower to stick with a Braves team,
Yeah.
How much fun would that World Series be?
Speaking of the Braves, they really didn't do a whole lot, except for Max Fried come back, and yeah, what a problem to have. What a problem to have. All right, 2K crew, it is that time for our weekly top 5. Top 5, and 2K crew, let me know in the comments here, do you guys enjoy more random top 5s, or do you want us to keep it sports? We could do it either way. I just think it's fun to do other stuff, but if you guys are hell-bent on just keeping it sports, let me know. Let me know in the comments. This week we are doing top 5 ice cream flavors, 2Ks. And this one kind of hurts my heart. Since being diagnosed as a diabetic, I don't get to indulge in ice cream nearly as much as I used to. But I do have some favorites. So if I am going to cheat a little bit and have a little bit of any of these are going to be my top 5. Are you ready for my top 5, too?
I'm ready for it.
Now, I'm going to throw it out there that there's probably 1.5 million different flavors of ice cream. And there's 1.5 million different things that they put in ice cream. I'm not really a complex guy when it comes to ice cream. But my number 5 is probably the most complex out of them all, and that's Moose Tracks. Yeah. It's got a little bit of everything, And one thing, too, is I have to be careful because I'm allergic to walnuts.
Ooh.
So I have to be careful with because there are some Moose Track brands that do have walnuts in them. So I got to be very, very careful of that. Number 4, I'm going with a traditional pick here, strawberry. I prefer strawberry over vanilla and chocolate. I've never really been a huge chocolate eater. If there is something chocolate, it needs some backup, like some peanut butter. Like Reese Cups are by far my favorite candy, followed by a Snickers. So the chocolate just can't stand by itself. Mm-hmm. Number 3, I've got cookies and cream. How could you go wrong there? Pretty much a staple in every freezer, I think. I don't think I've met a person when you're like, hey, you want some cookies and cream ice cream? They're like, nah, I'm good. I'm good, and it's even better when you can get like a blizzard of it, where you get the vanilla and the Oreos in it. So I'm a big fan of that. Number 2, I've got cookie dough. And cookie dough, you could go any number of ways with that too, but just your standard chocolate chip cookie dough, I love it. And my number 1 2Ks, I already kind of alluded to it, but peanut butter cup. And if you give me Reese Cups in a flurry, I am a happy, happy boy. So 2Ks, what is your number 5 favorite ice cream?
I'll agree with you on number 5. I'll go Moose Tracks also. My favorite is obviously when you get that bite of Reese in there. That's my favorite one. Number 4, I'll go Neapolitan just because you got a combination of all of it,
mix
into
it up.
it. Yeah. I used to love as a kid. You get those Neapolitan ice cream sandwiches.
We would get the tubs of that as a kid, and I'd eat the strawberry, and Josh would eat the other ones.
And I'm with you. Like, I can do strawberry and I can do vanilla. I'm not a huge chocolate fan. So, like, when I opened it up, I was hoping that I'd get chocolate on the first side so I could get that one. Because I'm always, everything I eat, I always save the best for last.
Well, yeah.
It's so weird, you
Yeah.
know? But, like, I don't know, what was it, a couple days ago, we had steak for dinner. So I ate, like, all the asparagus on the plate. I love asparagus, but
too.
when it comes down to asparagus, potatoes, and steak, asparagus is 3. So I ate all the asparagus, then I ate all the potatoes, and then it's just like fucking tighten the bib up because when you get down for some
Tighten the
steak.
bib and loosen the pants.
So Neapolitan 4. Number 3, I'm just gonna go straight vanilla.
Okay.
Straight
I can dig
vanilla. You need straight vanilla if you're gonna do a root beer float. You need straight vanilla, if you're gonna do like a chocolate sundae or something like that. So to me, you always have to have just straight vanilla ice cream in your freezer.
But do you ever just sit and eat vanilla ice cream just plain?
No.
I'll say that's why strawberry made my list and not vanilla, because strawberry can kind of sit on its own.
Sit there and eat a plain.
And if you like if you're talking milkshakes too, give me a strawberry milkshake over vanilla or chocolate any day. Vanilla is very good because it's the base of a lot of stuff.
I can sit there if it's like a vanilla bean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, then I can sit there and just eat that straight. So
I can give you that.
Yeah,
I can give you that.
Number two. I'm having a brain fart here. What was it? I had this list off. I think cookies and cream. Yeah, you said it. Cookies and cream. Yeah, I mean, I could sit and eat a fucking bag of Oreos. I can sit and anything cookies and cream flavored. So yeah, obviously on that one. And then number 1, the easiest one by far, my favorite, cookie dough. Cookie dough ice cream. There's always a tub of cookie dough ice cream in the freezer. Most of the time, any ice cream store I go to, I normally always go with cookie dough ice cream. Yeah, it's always been my favorite.
Now, is there, since you and I growing up in Marcellus here, we're from Michigan, so no mention on either of ours of Superman ice cream.
Yeah, well, that's. If I had my pal Noli up here, we would have Superman ice cream, Blue Moon ice cream. That kid, he can get down on some ice cream. He loves his ice cream.
I've never been a huge fan. And I really can't put my finger on it. Maybe because when I'm trying to eat it, I'm expecting like more of a sherbet.
Sure.
And it's not.
Sure.
It's ice cream. It's not sherbet. So maybe it's the disappointment once it hits the lips, and I'm like, yeah, no.
I'll get like the last scrape or so out of a bowl sometimes of Nolan's, and I can't get down with the Superman, but I could get down with some Blue Moon ice cream.
I gotcha.
Yeah, Blue Moon's pretty good.
Gotcha. Now, especially when it comes to eating ice cream, I'm kind of a weirdo. I like mine almost melted.
Sure.
Instead of like rock hard, because I don't know, it's just easier to eat. And when you get a vanilla or a strawberry, it kind of brings out the flavor a little more when it's. I'm not saying just give me a puddle of milk by any means, but I like to, when it comes straight out of the container, I'll throw it in the microwave for like 10 seconds, kind of loosen it up, and for me, it's easier to eat. But yeah, I'm also the guy that puts ice in really, really hot soup. Yeah. Which probably goes against your credo of eating.
I like everything fucking
scalding
hot. Yeah, the inside of my mouth is just a giant callus because I microwave and heat up everything, or if I boil anything, I just take it straight out of the fucking.
God,
and
fucking psycho. Speaking of psychos,
I grab things right off the grill and eat them. I have to eat everything hot.
speaking of psychos, big happy birthday to Mr. Christian Hudson.
Yes, absolutely. Big 32 today.
Oh, big 3-2.
Happy birthday.
Old ass man. Yeah,
It'd be nice to get
saw
him
that
on here
Facebook.
again sometime.
Yeah. If you stop hating on us. Last time I talked to him, or he posted a photo with a backwards hat on, and you beat me to it. So yeah, big happy birthday to C Hut. So 2Ks, that's been our hour, dude. Did we miss anything? You want to add anything?
No, I'm ready to start talking some football.
Yeah, and next week, well, like I said, we'll do our not our fantasy football kind of pre-show, but our college football pre-show, and that's when we'll talk about what happened this weekend a little more in depth with the Big Ten going to the Big 18 or whatever the hell it is, and we'll get into is my kind of prediction where there's going to be 3 super conferences. Mm-hmm. I think it's lining up to be that way. So, and kind of how we see things falling, and we'll take a look at schedules.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely for Michigan, Notre Dame. Probably take a peek at Michigan State a little bit. Probably Ohio State.
Fuck both of them.
But just to see how they compare with one another. So 2K crew, do not hesitate to come and watch, and get in the chat. Well, yeah. 2K crew will leave you with that. Everyone have a great week, and as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.